and we're trying to refocus the press to get them to pay attention to the chronic disease epidemic as you've asked us to. We have now 38% of American youth are pre-diabetic. This was unknown 30 years ago. Every child that becomes diabetic, there should be a headline about them. We have 100 million adults who are pre-diabetic or diabetic. And we have, we have now the autism rates have gone from now most recent numbers we think are going to be about 1 in 31, 1 in 20, so they're going up again. From 1 in 10,000, we've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So big.
When you guys started the wellness company, did you have any idea that the MAGA movement was about to burst out of the gate? Could you sense it? Or was this just sort of a happy coincidence? Walk me through that.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story, Jack. I mean, we originally started the wellness company with Dr. Peter McCullough, who you know very well, to be a safe harbor for all these doctors that were speaking out during COVID and losing their jobs. And that mission was incredibly important to us. And we kind of saw through launching that one silver lining out of the pandemic was that many Americans were really opening up to all these alternative forms of health and wellness that kind of a few years ago were almost considered snake oil. And people started really looking seriously at things like chiropractics, things like acupuncture, functional medicine, naturopaths, all of these things which contribute in big, meaningful ways to your health, and really now kind of form the core of the MAGA movement, which you just described. So no, we had no idea that this thing would snowball to the point that it has today in 2025, but it's been a tremendous experience for us to see this happen, because it just shows that many Americans are now taking their health seriously, some for the first time in their lives.
And actually, it's amazing you mentioned naturopath. So I've talked about this before publicly. My grandmother was a naturopath, and she was talking about this stuff in late 90s, early 2000s. And so when I hear stuff, I'm listening to a Joe Rogan or a Huberman podcast or whatever it is, and I hear people talking about biohacking, and it's become such a hot topic. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is what grandma used to talk about. She would talk about these things all the time. She would talk about the enzymes in our food, how everything was being killed, how our food was, she would say it was too hormonal. There was too many hormones in the meat that we're eating. She would talk about eating raw food as much as possible because of the cooking process. And again, just in general about processed foods, things that are really becoming mainstream now. But I remember when she would say it, look, I wasn't ready to hear it yet. It's one of those things, you're younger and it's like, oh, grandmom says, but she was 100% right. And that's become, it used to be like the crunchy grandmas, but hey, I guess my crunchy grandma was right, wasn't she?
Grandma was absolutely right, Jack. And I know you've traveled the world and you've eaten food from all around the world. I think people were kind of in awe when Tucker Carlson was in Moscow raving about how good the food was there. And the reason is they don't allow GMOs in Russia, unlike America, where it's virtually in everything we eat. So there's a lot to be said about the truth behind all these additives and preservatives and artificial ingredients that have kind of slowly crept their way into the American diet. And honestly, they might be poisoning us. Let's face the fact here. So grandma was absolutely right. I think a return to kind of our core diets, the things that we know are good for us, the pure organic foods, is going to be the way to go. I also think in the next 5 years, we're going to see a big movement towards actually branding and labeling foods as mRNA free. We've seen a ton of pushback because of the shots and a ton of people asking, is this stuff going to make its way into the food supply? We have the bird flu coming. We have, obviously, we're vaccinating our cows and pork supplies. I really think that people need to be asking these questions of their food suppliers in their grocery stores. What are you keeping out of my food that's going to keep me healthy? Because oftentimes you don't know what hormones and antibiotics and other vaccines are being injected into the meat you buy every day.
And that's a huge point of it. By the way, we've got, of course, the promo code. So for folks that want to find out more about this, that want to get involved, Of course, it's twc.health/POSO with promo code POSO. Tell me a little bit more about the role that the wellness company plays in all of this burgeoning information that people are coming to. Because look, people come into this world and they say, oh my gosh, everything was a lie. Everything at the supermarket is a minefield. What do I do? How do I function in this society? And I feel like the wellness company plays that sort of role, almost like a guide through all of this with the new understanding, but also to help you just live a normal life.
I love how you said that, Jack, and it's been a complete evolution for us. So when we first launched, we were very focused on helping people cure and heal from the vaccine. And we invented the product category of spike support. And now there's been many people who have tried to knock us off, but it's still our kind of number one bestseller month in and month out in terms of overall units, is people that come to us for detoxing from the vaccine or from long COVID. We then kind of grew to medical preparedness. So how can we empower people to have essential life-saving medications in their homes, right? Things like ivermectin, Z-Pak, amoxicillin, things that are going to be used in the next 12 months when you get sick, and allow you to be proactive about addressing illness before it comes, so you don't get stuck in an urgent care behind a line of 2 hours worth of illegal aliens. So now we're really looking at how can we bring health and wellness to a big scale. And 2025 is really the big year for that to happen. So this spring, we're going to be launching wellness farms. We've been working very hard over the winter to build partnerships with clean, organic, regenerative farms around the United States so we can ship clean, organic, and regenerative meat to Americans everywhere. We've been working at building out parasite cleanses. I saw you showed the ivermectin mebendazole product on our screen. That's been one of our fastest selling products. And we've been working on solutions that help Americans with weight loss. Weight loss is one of the number one issues facing Americans today. 75% of us, Jack, are overweight, and we are huge, right? It's a big problem. And I would say the number one way to fix Americans' health the most quickly is to just simply help them lose weight. And I think with everything that we're bringing to the table here between supplements, medication, and food, we're really giving people all the tools that they need under one roof to achieve their best health.
And that's what's so cool about it, because you do have it all there directly. And by the way, this operates completely online. And it's like, yeah, okay, look, these guys are a partner of ours. But I literally use the wellness company for our family. And it's just been great. It's been so incredible to work with. Something, just like I have kids, I've got my wife, I've got my schedule. It's when you talk about the urgent. So it's like the doctor's offices got crazy because of Obamacare. So you couldn't get, a doctor's appointment anymore. It's like, oh, yeah, we'll see you in 6 months. Like, the name is primary care provider. And it's like, but I don't get my primary care from you because I can barely see you, because I can barely get on your schedule. And then that's what led to the rise of like the express cares and the urgent cares and all these different, facilities where people go to. But even then, as you say, when you go to one of those, you're stuck in line, because you're right. There's so many migrants in this country, the largely illegal migrants, that just flood into those because they know they can go there without health care, they can go there without insurance, they can just use one of these like paid plans or whatever, and you're stuck surrounded by illegals when you're in there, and you still might take hour and a half to actually get to the front of the line to see even a nurse practitioner or something. It's ridiculous, and all you're trying to do is just get some basic. You're going on a trip and you want to have some preventative medication. It's like, why did this become so hard in our country?
Jack, I think access to medication is an American right and a personal responsibility. And we've been taught for so long, Jack, that the best way to treat illness is to try to ride it out, right? And how has that really worked for us, right? And I mean, I'm sure you've probably done it just like me. You feel a little sick and you say, rather than going to address it and waiting in line, I'm just going to try to sleep it off, right? And that actually makes the problem worse. And then you end up not performing at your best. The best time to address illness is the first sign of symptoms. When you feel that scratchy throat, when you feel the runny nose coming on, that's when you want to be able to hit it with medication. And that's what we're empowering Americans to do. We're putting actual medicines in their medical cabinet. Imagine that. We recognize, even as a doctor-led company, people hate going to the doctors. It's horrible. Like, the experience is no fun. It takes forever, and it costs a lot of money. So we can help people save money and feel better, and it's a win all around. And that's why I think over 1 million people have turned to us for these kids.